Chapter 1. Hello, Ava. This is Isabel Croft. I'm returning to the country and need to terminate the stand-in service. The agreement states that for service exceeding 5 years, the stand-in is given a 1-month transition period, correct? Ava Sterling froze for a moment. The last time she had heard this voice, nearly identical to her own, was 7 years ago. 7 years ago, Isabel Croft had come to the agency and had all the young women say the name, Ethan Lockwood. The moment Ava spoke, Isabel hired her on the spot. The service term was until the day Isabel returned to the country or got married. For the following week, Ava studied Isabel's sense of style, makeup, diet, and lifestyle habits. By the way, my birthday is July 20th. Remember, from now on, your birthday is on that day too. According to the agreement, every aspect of the stand-in's life had to mirror the client's. Looking at Ava, who now bore an 80% resemblance to her after the training, Isabel nodded in satisfaction. As long as her shadow remained by Ethan Lockwood's side, he would never forget her, no matter how much time passed. Then she left the country, chasing after another man. "Ava, are you still there?" Isabel's voice on the other end, tinged with impatience, pulled Ava back to the present. Ava composed herself, adopting a respectful tone she hadn't used in years. "Yes, Miss Croft. Due to the extended service period, we require some time to prepare for my departure to ensure there are no adverse effects for you." "Fine. Thank you for your hard work these past 7 years. In 1 month, I need you to disappear from his life completely." The call ended. A strange mist clouded Ava's brown eyes. "Disappear completely?" "Ava, you!" cried from the spice again. Ethan Lockwood walked in, helplessly taking a tissue to wipe her tears, his voice filled with concern. "You're always like this. Why do you insist on eating spicy food when you can't handle it?" He had asked this question many times. Each time, Ava would just smile and vaguely say she loved it. In truth, her stomach had been delicate since childhood. She couldn't handle spicy food at all, and she didn't like it one bit. But her employer, Isabel Croft, couldn't live without spice, so Ava had to love it too. Yet, after 7 years, Ava's tolerance for spice hadn't improved. Ethan handed her a glass of milk to soothe the heat, his brow relaxing only after she drank it. "Ava, I want to take you somewhere." Once in the car, Ethan fastened her seatbelt. In the dim light, his eyes were full of tenderness. He smiled and gently tapped her nose. "Did the spice make you silly? You seem distracted. No more spicy food for you. I worry to death every time your stomach hurts." Ava lowered her head and murmured an affirmation. Ethan, pleased, planted a kiss on her cheek. The car moved smoothly along the highway. Ava couldn't help but turn to look at the man in the driver's seat. His high, bridged nose and near-perfect profile were captivating. She had been looking at this face for 7 years. Her first time approaching Ethan was at a gala, arranged by Isabel. Ava spotted the heavily intoxicated man in a corner and, mimicking Isabel's tone, called out to him. "Ethan, stop drinking." Hearing the familiar voice, Ethan shot up and pulled her into a tight embrace, his drunken voice a low murmur. "Isabel, you didn't leave. I knew you wouldn't leave me. You'll never leave me, right?" "I won't leave you." Chapter 2. But as soon as Ava finished speaking, the man pushed her away fiercely. "Get out, you're not her." After that, Ava appeared before Ethan every day. She delivered breakfast at his company's entrance in the morning, snatched the liquor bottle from his hand late at night when he drank himself into a stupor, and occasionally showed up at his villa with fresh clothes. But Ethan remained cold, keeping her at a distance with his bodyguards. Ava couldn't get close. Yet, every time he heard her voice, the harsh lines of his face would soften slightly. This went on for a whole month, and then Ava suddenly vanished. It was a tactic suggested by her employer, Isabel, playing hard to get. The trick worked. A week later, Ethan sent people searching the entire city for her. Ava reappeared one night as he was drinking. This time, the intoxicated man didn't push her away. He just coldly demanded to know where she had been and why she had disappeared. Before Ava could answer, Ethan collapsed onto the sofa, muttering in his drunken state. "Say my name, call my name. Ethan Lockwood, Ethan Lockwood." Ava called his name all night, until the man's furrowed brow smoothed out, until he rested peacefully in her arms. The next day, Ethan asked Ava how much money she wanted. Every woman who had approached him over the years had been after his money. Ava shook her head. "I just want to stay by your side." because the money had already been paid by someone else. Ethan asked why. Ava lied skillfully, because I like you. Perhaps he believed her. He let Ava stay, and she stayed for 7 years. But now, how was she supposed to leave? Would Ethan drink himself into a stupor again, just like that night, because she was gone? Ava was the best stand-in at the agency. She shouldn't be thinking about these things. But the thought of leaving filled her with a mix of emotions, a strange, sour ache. Ava took out her phone and looked at the contract she signed 7 years ago. Breach of contract penalty. $50 million, she couldn't afford it. The car stopped in the suburbs. Ethan took out a silk scarf and tied it over her eyes. Ava, it's a surprise. Her vision went dark. Ava let him lead her, the warmth of his hand in hers. She squeezed it a little tighter for no reason. We're here. As the scarf was removed, a sea of fiery red roses burst into view. Ethan led her to the center of the rose garden and stopped. He turned to face her, his dark eyes reflecting only her. Suddenly, a chorus of cheerful teasing erupted around them. So this is her. She's beautiful, no wonder you hid her away for 7 years. Ethan, you didn't want to share? I can't believe it. Ethan Lockwood is really off the market? She doesn't look anything like Isabel Croft. I remember how he was ready to die for Isabel, and then he just calmed down all of a sudden. I thought he'd found a stand-in. That last comment was lost in the general uproar, but Ava heard it. A stand-in. Seeing the crowd of people that had suddenly appeared, Ava realized what was happening. She hastily covered her face and turned to leave. According to the contract, a stand-in was not allowed to appear in public with the client, including in front of his friends. She was meant to stay hidden in his shadow. A pair of well-defined hands stopped her. Ava, don't hide anymore. Give me a chance to introduce you to my friends, please. Chapter 3, Ethan gently lowered the hand covering her face. A large screen nearby suddenly lit up. It displayed a montage of their sweet photos together over the years. The man before her knelt on one knee, a sparkling diamond ring appearing in his hand as if by magic. His magnetic voice was like a gentle spring breeze, captivating her heart. Ava, thank you for being by my side these past 7 years. I want you by my side for all the days to come. Ava Sterling, will you marry me? Ava's eyes widened in disbelief. She looked down into the man's affectionate gaze, her mind going completely blank. How could this be? Had Ethan Lockwood really fallen in love with her, a stand-in? How could she, a stand-in, be proposed to by her client? And how could a stand-in accept a proposal that didn't belong to her? Marry him, marry him? The cheering grew louder. Ava felt flustered, wanting to escape but unable to move. Her heart was pounding faster than ever before. Ava, was this too sudden? Did I scare you? Ethan noticed her panic but remained on one knee, his voice gentle, his eyes overflowing with tenderness. Images flooded Ava's mind. She clutched the fabric of her dress, her eyes welling with tears. Humans aren't made of stone. Even a stand-in has a heart. Living together for 7 years, saying his name over and over, she hadn't even realized that her tone was no longer the one Isabel had taught her. It was now colored with her own cautious love and secret affections. She and Ethan looked like a genuinely loving couple. Looking at the man kneeling before her, Ava suddenly thought that $50 million didn't seem like that much. Perhaps she didn't have to be a stand-in. A faint smile graced Ava's lips as she took a step closer to him. The surrounding friends cheered even more excitedly. Just as she was about to speak, the romantic music was abruptly replaced by a phone ringtone. The large screen displayed the caller ID. Isabel. Ethan's eyes widened, and he instinctively answered the call. A pleasant female voice echoed through the sea of roses. Ethan, I'm back in the country. The words were like a bombshell, sending shockwaves through Ethan's heart. The next second, he stood up and ran out of the rose garden, his eyes bloodshot. The garden fell silent. The friends exchanged glances, wanting to comfort Ava but not knowing what to say. They all knew who that voice belonged to and could only look at her with pity. The ring slipped from his hand and rolled to Ava's feet. Ava crouched down and picked up the sparkling diamond, now smudged with dirt. The sunlight illuminated the letters engraved on it. Icy Isabel Croft. Her heart felt as if it were being squeezed, the pain so intense she could barely breathe. She pressed a hand to her chest as silent tears soaked into the ground. Of course, a stand-in could only ever be a stand-in. A self-deprecating smile touched Ava's lips. She had actually thought Ethan loved her. For a moment, she had even wanted to be his wife, to stand by his side forever. Now she felt like a pathetic clown who had overestimated her own importance. 7 years ago, Ethan had drunk himself to the point of stomach bleeding for Isabel, still murmuring her name. Night after night, the only name on his lips in his sleep was Isabel. For a necklace Isabel once wore, he allowed himself to be humiliated by kidnappers, trampled on the ground, refusing to let go. How could she have forgotten all of that? Chapter 4. Back at the villa, Ava looked at the empty pillow beside her and felt a sudden chill. There were no new messages on her phone. Ava let out a self-mocking laugh, as if Ethan would remember her now. As expected, Ethan didn't come back all night. A sharp pain in her lower abdomen woke Ava. Ava's constitution was weak, and her period always felt like a near-death experience. She struggled out of bed to find painkillers and a heating pad. Ethan usually kept these things in a small box, always ready for her. After searching everywhere and finding nothing, Ava slumped weakly against the bed. The sound of the front door opening reached her. "Ava, I need to discuss something with you." Ethan walked in hurriedly, crouching in front of her with a hesitant look on his face. "An old friend of mine wants to visit, but..." Noticing Ava's pale face, he reached out to wipe the cold sweat from her forehead. "You look so pale. Are you too tired? How about I send you to a resort for the day to relax? I'll pick you up later." Ethan seemed to have completely forgotten last night's proposal, forgotten that he had abandoned her at the proposal site. Not a single word of explanation. Her phone vibrated. Ava pulled her hand away from her stomach and opened the message. It was from Isabel. "Ava, I'll be at the villa shortly. Please stay to handle the handover, and by the way, help us rekindle things." She couldn't refuse her employer's request. Ava looked up, forcing a smile onto her pale face, and spoke directly. "Isabel Croft is coming, isn't she? I know all her favorite dishes. I'll cook for you. Don't worry, I won't reveal our relationship." Her obedient demeanor caused a strange pang in Ethan's heart. He hesitated for a moment before ruffling her hair. "All right, thank you for your trouble, Ava." The touch of cold water intensified the pain in Ava's abdomen, making her double over. A pair of silver high heels stopped at the kitchen doorway. Isabel's crisp, cheerful voice sounded from behind her. "You've done a good job over the years. The room is decorated exactly to my liking, and you've learned my style and makeup well. I'm very satisfied. For the next month, I'll need your cooperation. After you've completely disappeared, I'll give you a bonus." Just as Ava was about to speak, a man's voice interrupted her. "What completely disappear? Who's disappearing?" Isabel's large, watery eyes instantly filled with tears. She turned with a sob, pretending she was about to leave. It's my fault. I shouldn't have come here and disturbed you too. Miss, please don't worry, I'll disappear right away. I'll completely disappear from your lives." Hearing the word disappear, Ethan's expression changed drastically. He rushed forward and pulled Isabel into a tight embrace, his voice trembling slightly. "No, don't. Isabel, promise me you won't disappear again, okay?" Isabel nestled in his arms and said shyly, "Okay." After getting her confirmation, Ethan released her and turned to look coldly at Ava, who was standing there blankly. "I told you that you weren't needed today, but you insisted on staying to cook for Isabel. Why would you say something like that to her? If you don't want to do it, then leave. The one who should disappear is you." Ava watched as the man walked out with his arm around Isabel, but she didn't call out to him. A stand-in must cooperate with her employer. Ava's heart felt as if it had been stabbed. A dull ache spread through her chest, and combined with the sharp pain in her abdomen, she felt unsteady, leaning against the counter for support. He was right. The one who should disappear was her. A 7-year stand-in. Chapter 5. It was Isabel who spoke up and had Ava stay. By the time all the dishes were cooked, Ava's face was completely ashen. With her remaining strength, she carried the last dish, a spicy stew, out of the kitchen. Just as Ava was about to place the dish on the table, her elbow was suddenly bumped hard. The large bowl in her hands tilted, and the scalding hot oil was about to spill. In the nick of time, Ethan pulled Isabel into his arms, shielding her. The hot oil poured entirely onto Ava's arm. The intense, burning pain made her collapse to the floor, her back drenched in sweat. Ava looked up in agony, hoping for help, only to see Ethan already carrying Isabel and rushing towards the hospital. She had no choice but to endure the pain and dial for an ambulance. "Oh my goodness, young lady, how did this happen? Your entire arm has severe burns. This is going to hurt a bit while I apply the ointment, so try to bear with me." The doctor sighed helplessly as he gently applied the medication. "If it hurts, just cry out. It must be agonizing. A young woman about your age was just in here, also with a burn. She wouldn't stop screaming while I was applying the ointment. Her boyfriend was right there, so worried, constantly blowing on it and telling me to be gentler. A burn the size of a fingernail ended up taking me half an hour to treat." The doctor shook his head, his tone apologetic. "That's what caused the delay. If I had been able to treat you sooner, your prognosis might have been better. Now, you'll likely have a scar." Ava managed a weak smile to reassure the doctor. Her phone vibrated. A message from Ethan popped up. "Where are you? Why aren't you answering your phone? Isabel was hurt because of you. Come to the hospital and apologize to her immediately. Miss, please don't move, I'm applying your medication." What message could be so important that you have to reply right now? The doctor held her arm down, continuing the treatment with a frown. A mist formed in Ava's eyes. Suddenly, she felt an immense wave of pain. The screen, which had just gone dark, lit up again. This time, it was from Isabel. "Ava, please come to my room now. I need you to cooperate with something." After the treatment, Ava rested for half an hour before pulling down her sleeve and walking into Isabel's hospital room. The moment Ethan saw her, his previously gentle expression soured. "What took you so long?" he said, annoyed. "Hurry up and apologize to Isabel. She was injured because of you." Before she could speak, Isabel pulled on Ethan's arm and said softly, "It's all right, it wasn't Ava's fault. She didn't do it on purpose. Besides, she cooked so many delicious dishes for me. I should be thanking her." The affection in Ethan's eyes was about to overflow. He playfully tapped Isabel's nose. "Isabel, you're as kind as ever, always thinking of others." Ava didn't want to stand there and watch their lovey-dovey display any longer. Remembering Isabel's instructions, she spoke directly. "I'm sorry, Miss Croft. It's my fault you were injured. I apologize." Seeing the smile on Isabel's face, Ethan's mood seemed to improve slightly. He waved his hand dismissively. "Since Isabel has forgiven you, you can take a taxi back home." His gaze didn't linger on Ava for more than 3 seconds. In the past, if she had so much as a paper cut, Ethan would notice immediately and insist on disinfecting it and putting on a bandage. Ava would always laugh and say he was overreacting. Now, he couldn't see the large burn on her arm at all. So this is what it's like when someone doesn't care about you. They simply don't see you. Chapter 6, Ava returned to the villa and began to clear out her things. She gathered all the jewelry, bags, and other items Ethan had given her over the years, contacted a broker, converted them to cash, and deposited the money into her bank account. The engagement ring she had picked up from the dirt she didn't sell. The initials engraved on it weren't hers. It wasn't her property. She placed it in its box on the desk, ready to be returned to its rightful owner. By the time she had cleared out all her belongings, Ethan still hadn't returned. 1 week left. Then she would disappear from his life completely. Ava took out her phone, ready to book a flight out of the city, when a message from Isabel popped up. "Ava, I will arrange for your departure. For now, I need you to go to my social media feed and like my latest post." Isabel had posted a 9-photo grid, each a long, stitched-together collage, making for a total of 81 pictures. All of them were photos of her and Ethan. In every single one, Ethan was smiling broadly, his eyes filled with joy and love. So, he could smile like that. In the 7 years they had been together, this was the first time she had seen Ethan so exuberant. He was usually so reserved, his smiles faint and fleeting. Ava had always urged him to open up and laugh freely, but he would say he never learned how to smile like that. It turned out it wasn't that he couldn't, but that it depended on who he was with. Ava did as Isabel asked, quietly liking the post. Just as she put her phone down, the screen lit up with a message from Ethan. "How do you have Isabel's contact info? What did you say to her? You never look at your feed. Why did you like her post? Ava, if you have something to say it to me. Don't make things difficult for her." A self-mocking smile spread across Ava's face. She had become a prop to fuel their romance. But that was, after all, part of her job as a stand-in. Ava didn't reply. She looked at the mountain of photos in the courtyard, and without a moment's hesitation, she took out a lighter. As the leaping flames reflected in her eyes, Ava felt nothing. It was like completing any other task. She was just a stand-in. She should never have developed feelings for the client. This was the correct way, especially with a man like Ethan. His love was something she could never hope for. 3 days later, Ethan returned with bags full of gifts. The moment he walked in, he sensed something was wrong. Why does the villa feel so empty? Where did our photos on the wall go? They were old. I was planning to replace them. A fog of uncertainty clouded Ethan's dark eyes. A strange panic seized him. Something about Ava felt off. She was a very sentimental person. She had used the same pillow for 7 years, and even when it went flat, she washed it and stored it away, unable to throw it out. Perhaps he had neglected her by being away for so many days. With this thought, Ethan turned to get a few gifts for Ava, but with each item he picked up, Isabel's happy voice echoed in his ears. After a moment, he realized with a jolt that among all these gifts, not a single one was for Ava. His heart tightened. He had forgotten Ava. A flicker of guilt crossed Ethan's eyes. His gaze fell on a small box at the very end. Inside was a necklace. He hesitated for a moment, then picked it up, turned, and handed it to Ava, his voice unusually gentle. Ava, I'm sorry I haven't been with you these past few days on my business trip. This is a gift I brought for you. Do you like it? Ava recognized the necklace instantly. She had seen it on Isabel's social media feed. It was a cheap, promotional freebie that Isabel had scorned. I love it. Ava smiled and accepted the necklace. A freebie was for the best. It would save her the trouble of finding a broker to sell it. She was just a stand-in. She only deserved a freebie. A strange sourness rose in Ethan's heart. He raised his hand, wanting to stroke Ava's head, but his hand stopped short. He could sense instinctively that Ava was still unhappy. But why? Chapter 7, Ava, you seem down. Is your period coming? Ethan produced a box from somewhere, opening it to reveal painkillers, brown sugar, heating pads, and other supplies. It was the very box Ava had been desperately searching for last time. Ava lowered her eyes, hiding her expression. Ethan's phone suddenly rang. Seeing the caller's name, he answered almost instantly. A faint female voice came through the line. Ethan, I got my period and my stomach hurts so much. Wait for me, I'm on my way. Ethan's face was etched with worry. He hung up, grabbed the box, and rushed towards the door. He paused at the entrance, turning back to explain to Ava. Ava, Isabel isn't feeling well. I'm going to check on her. Before Ava could reply, the man was already in his car, speeding away. This was the first time in 7 years that Ethan had got her period date wrong. In the past, no matter how busy he was, he would clear his schedule a few days in advance to take care of her. Ava would always tell him not to neglect his work, but Ethan would say she was the most important thing. Ava gave a self-mocking smile. Actually, he hadn't gotten it wrong. According to the contract, her cycle was supposed to be synchronized with her employer, Isabel Croft. Ethan didn't return that night either. Ava went into the courtyard and pulled out all the tulips she had planted, replacing them with roses, Isabel's favorite. This was the one thing she hadn't kept consistent with her employer. The tulips in the yard were like the only true part of herself. Since the lady of the house was returning, it was only natural to replace them with the flowers the master loved. Ava took out her phone, and a trending local news story caught her eye. Lockwood Corp CEO rents private island for girlfriend's birthday bash. Ava suddenly remembered. Today was Isabel's birthday, which was also her fake birthday as a stand-in. With that thought, she went into the kitchen and baked an exquisitely beautiful cake, icing 2 words on top: new life. Her life as a stand-in was finally ending. It was worth celebrating. What's the occasion for baking a cake today? Ethan walked in, his eyes smiling, looking exceptionally happy. He took out a jewelry box containing a beautiful necklace. Ava, I'm sorry for neglecting you lately. Isabel just got back and needs my help with a lot of things. The sparkling light of the necklace pierced Ava's eyes. She didn't accept the gift, instead interrupting him. It's okay, I understand. Today is my birthday. Blow out the candles with me, Ethan Lockwood. Ava's tone was as gentle as a spring breeze, without a hint of dissatisfaction. This might be the last time she would ever say his name. Ethan froze for a moment. How could he have forgotten they shared the same birthday? A strange feeling rose in his heart again, something like guilt but not quite, leaving a lump in his throat. Before he could speak, Ava had already lit the candles and closed her eyes to make a wish. Ethan's gaze rested on her, and for a moment, he found he couldn't look away. It wasn't until his phone vibrated for the 10th time that he finally looked down and took it out. The moment he saw the message, he ran out the door without a backward glance. Ava opened her eyes to an empty room. She smiled and blew out the candles. Her wish had come true. She wished to never see Ethan Lockwood again in this life. Today was the day of Ava's departure. Just as she was about to contact Isabel, a message popped up. "Ava, please come to the island now. I will arrange for you to leave." Ava's heart trembled. A single tear fell silently onto the floor. This was the last time. It was all about to end. Chapter 8. Upon arriving on the island, Ava was led by Isabel to a small room. The chatter from outside drifted in. "Oh my God, Mr. Lockwood is such a romantic." Isabel Croft was abroad for 7 whole years, and he never forgot her. The moment she came back, he's been following her around, and now he's throwing this huge birthday party for her. "Did you see that necklace? It's the heart of the ocean, worth $100 million. It's the only one in the world." The CEO spares no expense to make his unforgettable love smile. "The love of a tycoon is just different. Don't spread rumors. Mr. Lockwood has a girlfriend. He even proposed to her the other day, although..." "No way. We haven't seen any other woman around him for the past 7 years. Every time he got drunk, he'd be calling Isabel's name. Every year, he'd ask me to buy up all the pearls because that's what Isabel likes." Ava's heart remained unmoved as she continued to pencil in her eyebrows. For the first time, her makeup didn't have to resemble Isabel's. It could be her own. The sound of high heels approached from behind. Isabel's beautiful face appeared in the mirror. "Ava, thank you for your cooperation. The bonus has been sent to the usual card. After today, I hope we never see each other again." Isabel took Ava's arm and they slowly descended the staircase. A shocked gaze fell upon them. When they reached the crowd, Isabel's voice, amplified by a microphone, echoed through the grand ballroom. "I'd like to introduce everyone to Mr. Lockwood's fiancée, Ava Sterling. Let's all offer them our sincerest blessings." The entire room fell silent. Countless astonished looks were directed at a grim-faced Ethan Lockwood. No one had expected Ethan to have a fiancée, much less for the announcement to be made by Isabel. Isabel smiled shyly. "On my birthday, I too hope to find a good man and be as happy as they are. If anyone is interested, feel free to get to know me. I'm single." The guests were all from prominent families, and interest flickered in the eyes of many. Smash! Ethan slammed his wine glass onto the floor, shattering it. He strode up to Ava, his dark eyes filled with rage, his voice seething with uncontrollable anger. "Who told you to come here? When did I ever say I was going to marry you? What right do you have to be my fiancé?" Without another word, Ethan grabbed Isabel and dragged her away. He left Ava standing there alone, the target of countless gazes filled with pity and contempt. Ava ignored them and walked straight out of the hotel. Following Isabel's final instructions, she went to a cliff by the sea to wait for the person who would take her away. The moon over the sea was exceptionally bright, the sky full of beautiful stars. "You've been waiting." Isabel's pleasant voice rang out. The wide collar of her dress revealed a large patch of red marks, her cheeks as flushed as apples. It was obvious what had just happened. 2 masked men appeared and tied both Isabel and Ava to the edge of the cliff. Isabel smiled at her slightly. "Don't be afraid, it's just a little drama. After this scene, you can leave for good." The night sea breeze whipped against Ava, making her shiver. Soon, a man running at full speed appeared before them. "Let them go," Ethan's deep roar echoed, his face terrifyingly grim, making the kidnapper's hands tremble. One of the kidnappers took a deep breath, recalling his lines, and shouted forcefully, "Choose one. You can only take one of these 2 women with you." The darkness in Ethan's eyes seemed ready to swallow someone whole. The pressure around him was terrifying. The kidnappers pushed both women closer to the edge of the cliff. "If you don't choose, they both die." Seeing the 2 of them dangling over the edge, Ethan's sanity completely shattered. He blurted out, almost instinctively, "The one on the right let her down. She's afraid of heights." Isabel was on the right. A satisfied smile appeared on Isabel's face. She turned to look at Ava. "Goodbye, your mission is complete." Ava looked at the frantic man before her. His gaze had never once landed on her. Having gotten their answer, the kidnappers immediately released Isabel, then grabbed Ava and jumped off the cliff together. Ava closed her eyes, letting her body fall freely. Goodbye, Ethan Lockwood. Chapter 9, Ava and the Kidnapper, landed on a pre-arranged lifeboat. The man helped her up and spoke with a hint of sympathy. Listen to me, kid. Leave that man. You saw it for yourself. He loves the other woman. Ava lowered her eyes and replied politely, Thank you, sir. I know. Even a stranger could see it, so how could she not? In truth, Ava had always known, from the very beginning. The person Ethan Lockwood loved was Isabel Croft. It was meant to be this way. He wasn't supposed to fall in love with her, a stand-in. She was the one who had overstepped, who had been foolishly sentimental. On the cruise back to Capital City, Ava didn't look back at Bay City, where she had lived for 7 years. According to the contract, after a stand-in completely disappeared, she could never appear before the client again. Ava couldn't turn back, and she would never go back. This was the best possible outcome. Ethan got his wish and was finally with the woman he'd always wanted, while she had successfully completed her job. The money she earned over the 7 years had saved her mother's life. On the cliff, receding further and further away, a man's desperate shouts could be heard, but they were drowned out by the sound of the waves, never reaching her ears. Ava, watching the figure jump from the cliff and vanish from sight, Ethan pushed the woman in his arms away and rushed to the edge, only to see the churning sea below. The dam in his heart burst. A torrent of chaotic emotions erupted, coalescing into a single, soul-wrenching cry. Ava, the cliff was so high. Could Ava possibly survive the fall? The churning waves crashed against the rocks, as if trying to devour everything. No, he hadn't meant to give up on her. He had promised to take care of her for the rest of her life. How could he have failed to protect her this time? A sharp pain shot through Ethan's heart. Unable to control himself, he stood up, ready to jump off the cliff to find her. But a pair of arms wrapped tightly around his legs. Isabel's choked sobs came from below. Ethan, you can't go down there, you'll be killed if you jump from this height. But Ava is down there, I have to find her, nothing can happen to her. Let me go. Ethan wrenched his leg free, deaf to any reason. There was only one thought in his mind, Ava could not die. Ava's fine, seeing the man was about to jump, Isabel screamed at the top of her lungs. Ethan turned back, his eyes still bloodshot. What did you say? Isabel, her eyes red and swollen, rushed up and hugged him, her choked voice filled with resentment. Ava is fine. I just asked her to act out a scene with me. I wanted to see how important I was in your heart. Ethan, I'm sure now. You really do love me, Ethan cut her off, his eyes dark with rage. You two conspired to deceive me? Isabel reached up to smooth his furrowed brow, forcing a flirtatious smile. Just think of it as a little joke between us, okay? I can answer the question you asked me 20 years ago now. Ethan Lockwood, I do. Ethan was stunned. He never thought he would get the answer he had waited 20 years for in a situation like this. But why wasn't there a single trace of joy in his heart? Instead, he felt an emptiness, as if he had lost something vital. He had waited 20 years for these words. Looking at the beautiful face before him, another face entirely floated into his mind. Ethan blurted out, Where is Ava? Why would she agree to act in this scene with Isabel? She watched him choose another woman. What must Ava have been thinking? A faint sense of unease crept into Ethan's heart. Is that all you want to talk about? Isabel repeated in disbelief. She had just said yes to him. Shouldn't he be ecstatic? Ethan pushed her away and took out his phone. The message that popped up on the screen made his pupils constrict violently. Chapter 10, Ethan tapped the screen and 3 messages came into view. Let's break up. I wish you and Isabel a future of happiness and a long life together. Goodbye, Ethan Lockwood. A dark, unreadable expression crossed Ethan's face. He had never imagined he would receive a breakup message from Ava. How was this possible? Ava loved him so much. She had been by his side for 7 years, always obediently waiting for him. How could she just leave? Was she angry because he didn't choose her this time? Ethan settled on this idea. He put his phone away, pushed Isabel aside, and left the cliff without looking back. Meanwhile, at the agency in Capital City. Ava, you came back after all. Mr. Harrison sighed, patting the shoulder of the calm-looking young woman before him. I thought you wouldn't come back. 7 years is long enough to truly fall in love with someone. I was thinking, if you two really got together, I would have tried to negotiate the penalty fee for you. Your happiness is what's most important. A warmth spread through Ava's eyes, her voice choking slightly. Thank you, Mr. Harrison. Mr. Harrison, I came back this time to resign. My mother's condition has stabilized, and I don't want to be a stand-in anymore. She didn't want to be anyone's stand-in ever again. She had chosen this profession 7 years ago only because her mother had fallen ill and needed a large sum of money for surgery. Money that no ordinary job could provide in such a short time. Now, her savings were enough to cover her mother's long-term medical expenses. I approve. After the 1-month post-service transition period is over, your resignation will be official. Good girl. From now on, just be yourself. Mr. Harrison smiled warmly, signed the document, then added in a kind tone. But for this month, if your client needs your cooperation, please try to accommodate her if you can. If you feel uncomfortable, just tell me, and I'll handle it. After all, we need to keep the agency running, and your client is quite well known in the upper circles. After 1 month, you can cut all ties with her for good. Ava nodded. Don't worry, Mr. Harrison. I'll handle the post-service support properly and won't tarnish our agency's reputation. After a client terminated the service, there was a 1-month transition period. During this time, without meeting the client's object of affection, the stand-in was required to cooperate with some of the employer's additional requests via text, phone, or other online means. Back in Bay City, a distraught Ethan rushed back to the villa. He held a strawberry cake in his left hand and a container of Ava's favorite spicy hot pot in his right. Ava, I'm so sorry about what happened. I'm back to celebrate your birthday with you. Look what I brought, it's your favorite hot pot. I'll let you have it just this once. His anxious voice echoed in the vast, empty living room. There was no reply. Ethan's heart sank. He had been betting that an angry Ava would still be here, waiting for his explanation. He put the items down and rushed upstairs to the second floor, flinging open the master bedroom door. He found the bedsheets and pillowcases had been changed to new ones. He breathed a sigh of relief. Her things were still here. Wait, where were the couple photos in the bedroom? He frowned and looked at the desk. The cosmetics and jewelry were all gone. Ethan hurriedly opened the wardrobe. It was filled with only his black, white, and gray shirts. Ava's clothes and bags were gone, only a small, square red box sat in the middle. Ethan opened the jewelry box. Inside was a diamond ring, the one he had used to propose to Ava. The proposal scene flashed in his mind, and a deep sense of guilt washed over him. He had left Ava standing there alone that day. How sad she must have been. The diamond ring sparkled, and in the sunlight, the engraved letters were exceptionally clear. Icy Chapter 11. Ethan's pupils contracted violently. In disbelief, he rubbed the ring over and over, confirming the initials. Why was Isabel's name on the ring? This was the ring he had proposed to Ava with. No wonder all her things were gone, except for this ring. Thud, he angrily slammed the ring on the desk. The desk trembled, revealing the edge of a bank card under the jewelry box. Ethan picked up the card. Underneath it was a folded piece of paper. He unfolded it to find a list detailing every gift he had ever given Ava, from large items like an apartment to small ones like a single rose. Below the long list of numbers was a grand total, 10 million. Ethan's anger erupted like a volcano. He tore the list to shreds. What did she mean by this? Did she want to draw a clear line between them? Just because he didn't choose her in a drama she helped stage. She was the one who deceived him first. Ethan picked up his phone and dialed Ava's number, only to be met with a cold, mechanical voice. The number you have dialed does not exist. Ethan's anger instantly dissipated, replaced by annoying panic and unease. He opened their chat, his fingertips trembling unconsciously. Ava, where are you? I bought you a cake and your favorite hot pot. Can we celebrate your birthday together? A glaring red exclamation mark appeared next to his message. Ethan's mind went blank. He immediately dialed another number, his voice a mixture of anxiety and fury. Find out where Ava Sterling went and find out what she's been doing this past week. Hanging up, Ethan ran frantically through every room, but he couldn't find a single trace of Ava, not even a single long hair. Ethan suddenly dashed into the backyard. A sea of fiery red roses burst into view, their rich fragrance filling the air. Ethan roared in shock. What is this? Why are there roses? Where are the tulips that were planted here before? A gardener, humming while watering the flowers, was startled and replied, confused. 3 days ago, the mistress asked us to pull out all the tulips and replace them with roses. I thought it was a pity at the time. The tulips were growing so beautifully. I asked her why, and she didn't answer, but later I heard her mutter something. Because he doesn't love tulips, he loves roses. The gardener didn't understand, but Ethan understood instantly. Ava was saying that he didn't love her anymore, he loved Isabel. Get out, all of you, get out. Seeing his state, the gardener quickly packed up and fled. Ethan charged into the flower bed like a madman, frantically pulling out the roses and tossing them aside. The sharp thorns pierced his skin, drawing blood, but he seemed to feel nothing. By the time all the roses in the garden had been ripped out, his hands were covered in blood. Ethan collapsed onto the ground, utterly spent. The memory of the proposal in the rose garden flashed through his mind. Ava had taken a step forward that day. She was about to say yes. Why did he have to leave? How had they ended up like this? Ethan remembered the words he had said during the proposal. He wanted her by his side forever. When Ava first came into his life, he had never thought about the word forever. He knew she was just a stand-in. He just wanted to hear her voice, a voice identical to Isabel's. Hearing her voice would inexplicably calm his heart. She would tell him not to drink, to take care of himself, to drink more water. To him, all this concern sounded as if it were coming from Isabel. But gradually, he noticed that Ava and Isabel weren't just similar in voice. Their tastes, style, and makeup were identical. All of this made him like her even more. Ethan's coldness began to thaw. He started to treat her with genuine affection, buying her gifts, planning little surprises, and caring for her uncontrollably. He would feel an inexplicable ache, even if she got a small cut. He had always told himself that the reason he treated her this way was simply because she resembled Isabel from head to toe. In the 7th year of Isabel's absence, Ethan's family elders began pressuring him to get married. The first person who came to his mind was Ava. An unconscious smile spread across his lips, and he thought to himself that spending a lifetime with Ava wouldn't be so bad. So Ethan immediately planned a romantic proposal. When he saw the look of shock and panic on Ava's face, he had been incredibly nervous, afraid she would refuse. When Ava smiled and took that step towards him, he saw it, and he was happier than he had ever been. But he never expected that Isabel would return on that very day. Chapter 12, the phone rang, and his assistant's cautious voice came through the line. Mr. Lockwood, we can't find Miss Sterling's whereabouts. Her flight information is protected, we can't access it. Useless, find a way. The phone was thrown across the room. A soft, startled female voice cried out nearby. Ava's back. Ethan scrambled to his feet, rushed into the living room, and tightly hugged the slender figure, murmuring, "Where did you go? You're finally back. Please don't ever leave me again, okay?" "Of course, Ethan. I'll never leave you again." Flowers bloomed anew in Ethan's desolate heart. The joy of having her back made him forget everything. Thank God, he hadn't lost her. "Oh, Ethan, your hand is bleeding. Where's the first aid kit?" "Let me bandage it for you. The first aid kit is..." The rest of the words stuck in his throat. Ethan abruptly spun the person in his arms around. The light in his eyes faded, and his heart once again became a barren wasteland. "Why is it you?" Isabel froze for a moment, then her tone became tinged with anger. "You thought I was Ava? Ethan, what do you mean? Are you not happy to see me?" Ethan turned away and sank onto the sofa, rubbing his temples wearily. "Isabel, that's not what I mean. I'm just a little tired. Can you go home for now?" This was the first time Ethan had ever asked Isabel to leave. In the past, she couldn't have chased him away. Anger and unease churned within Isabel. "You'll regret it if I leave." The sound of her high heels stopped at the doorway. Isabel turned and saw the blood-stained sofa, a dull ache spreading in her chest. Her gaze fell on the first aid kit on the bookshelf. Perhaps Ethan was just used to Ava's presence. After all, 7 years was a long time. You could get attached to a dog in that time, let alone a living person. They had only been together for 7 years, while Ethan had loved her for 20. When faced with a choice, he had chosen her without hesitation. In this relationship, Ethan had always been the one giving, the one expressing love. Now, it was her turn to give a little. Otherwise, she would repeat the same mistakes and end up with another failed relationship. With these thoughts, Isabel picked up the first aid kit, sat down next to Ethan, and began to carefully disinfect, treat and bandage his wounds. Disappear completely. Who do you choose? Fragmented phrases flashed through Ethan's mind. Ethan's eyes shot open. He gripped Isabel's shoulders, his fingertips turning white. Isabel, where did Ava go? Do you know something? The force of his grip made Isabel's eyes well up with tears of pain. A flash of anger crossed her face. Ethan, you're hurting me. His hands immediately loosened, but his deep, hoarse voice repeated insistently, I'm sorry, Isabel. Do you know where Ava went? Please tell me. Isabel's eyes widened in shock, her rationality crumbling. You're begging me for Ava's sake. Ethan, does it matter where she went? You know in your heart that Ava is just a stand and you don't love her. You love me, you've loved me since the day you were born. You said you would only love me for your entire life. Have you forgotten? When you had to choose, you chose me without hesitation. I'm the most important and the only one in your heart. Chapter 13. Her barrage of questions echoed in Ethan's ears, throwing his heart into complete chaos. She wasn't wrong. For all these years, the person he loved had been Isabel. But why did his mind keep conjuring up Ava's face? Isabel hugged the silent, head-bowed man tightly, her choked voice trembling, her tones soft and pitiable. Ethan, why aren't you saying anything? Don't you love me anymore? Just say you love me right now, and we'll get married immediately. We'll be together forever and never be apart again, okay? These were words Ethan used to dream of hearing. Now, hearing them spoken aloud, he felt no joy at all. He didn't know what was wrong with him. This was the woman he had loved for 20 years. Why didn't he feel the satisfaction of his wish being fulfilled? Ethan, if you don't say anything, I'll take it as a yes. The shy female voice spoke again. Ethan gently pushed her away, his voice thick with exhaustion. Isabel, let's talk about this another day. I have some things to take care of at the office. I'm leaving. With that, Ethan picked up his suit jacket from the sofa and walked out. Watching the man disappear through the door, Isabel angrily swept all the medicine bottles off the table. Why? She screamed in frustration and anger. Isabel couldn't understand where things had gone wrong. Ethan had loved her for so many years, always chasing after her. Even during her years abroad, Ethan's gifts and love had never ceased. In her repeated tests of his affection, Ethan had chosen her steadfastly every single time. Why was it that now, when she was willing, Ethan was the one pulling away? She felt like she couldn't understand him anymore. Was it because of that stand-in? How could Ethan possibly fall in love with a stand-in that woman, apart from having a voice like hers, was inferior to her in every other way? Isabel picked up her phone and dialed a number in France. Ava Sterling, what on earth did you do to Ethan over these 7 years? The contract clearly states that you are not to develop feelings for each other. I trust you haven't forgotten that. There was a moment of silence on the other end before Ava's polite, cool voice came through. Miss Croft, for the past 7 years, I have only been you. The answer stunned Isabel for a moment, then a satisfied smile curled her lips. So, Ethan had fallen in love with another version of herself. Isabel commanded impatiently, Ava, I've run into a bit of trouble. I need your cooperation. Of course. During the 1-month post-service period, I will do my best to cooperate with anything except for in-person meetings. Getting the confirmation she wanted, Isabel hung up. The weight in her heart lifted slightly. As long as the person Ethan loved wasn't Ava, but another version of her. That meant the person Ethan loved was still Isabel Croft. Could she, the original, possibly lose to a stand-in? After hanging up, a fog of confusion clouded Ava's eyes. Ava didn't understand why Isabel was making her go through this extra step. To Ethan, she was just an insignificant stand-in. Ethan had loved and thought about Isabel for 20 years. Now that she, Ava, was gone, shouldn't they be living happily ever after? Though confused, Ava had to comply with her employer's request during the post-service period. She entered the familiar number, opened the message editor, and, following Isabel's instructions, her fingers flew across the screen. Ethan Lockwood, I never loved you. I approached you for your money. After 7 years by your side, I have enough now, so you are of no use to me anymore. Don't look for me. I wish you and Isabel happiness. I will send a wedding gift to express my gratitude to my benefactor. Ava Sterling. Chapter 14. Ethan sat dejectedly in the CEO's office, his gaze unintentionally falling on a photo frame on his desk. It was a photo of him and Isabel from 10 years ago, when they both got into college. In the picture, the girl waved happily at the camera, while his eyes were fixed on her radiant smile. His world had contained only Isabel. Just as Ethan's hand was about to touch the frame, another, completely different face flashed in his mind. Why was his mind now filled with thoughts of Ava? Perhaps it was just because Ava had suddenly disappeared and he wasn't used to it. Was that really it? Then why wasn't he accepting Isabel? Everyone around him said that he, Ethan Lockwood, was a hopelessly devoted romantic who had only one person in his heart from elementary school through college and into his time as CEO. Even when Isabel was abroad for 7 years, there was never another woman by his side. But they didn't know that for those 7 years, there had always been an Ava stirring in the background. Ding dong! A message notification chimed. Ethan glanced at the screen, and his pupils instantly constricted. His hand trembled as he picked up the phone. The words on the screen hit him, the name Ava at the end stabbing him in the heart. He immediately dialed the number, muttering, "Ava, where are you? Please pick up. Don't go, please." The phone responded with the same emotionless, mechanical voice. "The number you have dialed is no longer in service." The light in Ethan's eyes dimmed again. He read the message over and over, a self-deprecating smile on his lips. They had lived together for 7 years, yet she couldn't even be bothered to say goodbye in a less perfunctory way. Ethan didn't believe for a second that Ava was after his money. In all these years, she had never accepted his credit cards, spent a dime of his money, or asked him for anything. She had only accepted his gifts reluctantly after he insisted. And before leaving, she had returned the monetary value of every single gift. She had settled the accounts so clearly, so precisely. But could the feelings of their 7 years together truly be calculated? Ethan's mind suddenly flashed back to the first time he met Ava. He had asked her what she wanted, and she had said she just wanted to stay by his side. A dull ache throbbed in his temples. Ethan genuinely couldn't understand why Ava would suddenly leave him. Was it because of Isabel's return? Or the unfinished proposal, the engagement ring with another woman's name, or the fact that he had chosen Isabel on the cliff? Sharp pangs shot through Ethan's heart. It was only now that he realized that ever since Isabel's return, he had been irrationally chasing after her, unintentionally doing so many things that hurt Ava. In a private room of a bar late at night, Ethan leaned weakly against the wall, the floor littered with empty glass bottles. When Isabel pushed the door open, she saw Ethan, dead drunk, but still trying to pour another bottle of liquor down his throat. She quickly rushed over, snatched the bottle from him, and said anxiously, "Stop drinking, Ethan, stop drinking." The drunken man's hand paused. He let her take the bottle and then pulled her into a tight embrace, his intoxicated, hoarse voice trembling slightly. "Ava, you're back. I knew you wouldn't. Leave me. Ava, don't go. Never leave me again. Okay?" A single, crystalline tear fell from Ethan's eye, landing on the back of Isabel's hand. Isabel's shocked eyes filled with a venomous resentment, jealousy nearly bursting from her heart. They say drunk words are sober thoughts. Why was he saying that stand-in's name when he was drunk? She didn't believe it, nor would she accept or allow Ethan to develop feelings for her stand-in. Chapter 15, Isabel knelt before the drunken man, gently cupping his face in her hands, her voice incredibly soft. "Ethan, look closely. Who am I?" Ethan slowly opened his eyes. The blurry images before him gradually merged into one. Suddenly, he shoved the woman in front of him to the ground. "You're not Ava. Where is Ava? I want Ava." Isabel's heart trembled violently. She had never imagined that Ethan would push her to the ground for another woman. All her pride and confidence crumbled in an instant. A massive wave of fear, anxiety, and resentment washed over her, swallowing her whole. Isabel could no longer control herself. She grabbed a glass of water from the table and threw it in the man's face. "Ethan Lockwood, sober up and tell me, who do you want?" The cold water washed away some of his drunkenness. Ethan's cloudy eyes regained some clarity. He pressed his throbbing temples, remaining silent. Isabel tossed the glass aside, the clattering sound echoing in the quiet room. She stood up, looking down at him, her voice urgent and furious. "Ethan Lockwood, speak. Who do you love? Why have you become like this? She's just a stand-in, just a crude, despicable, lying, worthless stand-in. Do you love her? The person you love is me. I'm the one you've cherished in your heart for 20 years. We were so close to finally being together. Have you fallen in love with someone else? Ethan, where is your heart? You said you would only love me for your entire life. Ethan looked up into the woman's furious eyes. This was the first time he had ever seen Isabel so out of control and angry. For all these years, she had always shown him the same face. Gentle, beautiful, and understanding, always giving off a feeling of being both near and far. When Ethan felt she was unattainable, she would take the initiative to show him concern. When he felt she was within reach, she would leave for another country without a word. And she was gone for 7 years. In this relationship, he had always been in the subordinate position, just like now, constantly looking up, begging for her love. After a long silence, Ethan spoke, his voice hoarse. "Why did you suddenly go abroad 7 years ago?" Isabel choked, clearly not expecting this question. In the past, Ethan had never asked why she did anything. She didn't know how to answer. "Answer me." The man's hoarse voice spoke again, laced with a chilling coldness. The icy tone was the last straw for the already on edge Isabel. "Ethan, what's with that tone? Does the why even matter? What matters is that I love you now, I want to be with you. So what if I went abroad to test you back then? You loved me for so many years, so what if you had to wait another 7? It was only 7 years, and I never expected you to have another woman by your side. You said you'd wait for me for a lifetime, that I'd be the only one. Have you forgotten all that?" Ethan's face was emotionless, his eyes clouded with a drunken haze. After a long while, a self-deprecating smile touched his lips. He never thought that the departure that had torn him apart was just an insignificant test to Isabel. He loved Isabel so much. He would have given up anything for her money, his future, even the entire Lockwood Corporation. Wasn't that enough? Why did she need to test his true feelings with a 7-year wait? Suddenly, all his longing for Isabel over those 7 years seemed utterly ridiculous. Ava's face appeared in his mind again. Thank God for Ava these past 7 years. Otherwise, he didn't know how he would have survived. Ethan picked up a nearby bottle and drank it down, his eyes filled with a dark haze. "Isabel, you should go." Chapter 16, the bottle slipped from Ethan's hand. He closed his eyes, seemingly passed out. Isabel looked at him in disbelief, her nails digging into her palms. She had already lost one man she loved. She couldn't lose Ethan, who loved her to the bone. A waiter helped carry the drunken man to a hotel room. Isabel slipped off her outer coat and pressed her body against the feverish man. Her delicate fingers gently traced his lips. Just as she was about to lean in for a kiss, the drunken man's arm suddenly wrapped around her slender waist, his hand roaming. Isabel's cheeks flushed. "Ethan, I'm willing." As soon as she spoke, the man's movements became more forceful, pressing her body tightly against his. "You're not her. You don't have the mole on your waist. You're not her." The delirious man suddenly pushed her away, his low mumble echoing in the room. Isabel was stunned. She tried to approach him again, her voice soft, but was repeatedly pushed away. Rage consumed her. She stormed out of the room and dialed a number on her phone. When the call connected, she demanded, "Ava Sterling, you slept with Ethan. The contract explicitly states." A cool voice from the other end interrupted her. "Miss Croft, I believe you've misunderstood. I have never had a physical relationship with the client. You are welcome to verify this." Then, "Why does he know about the red mole on your waist? Why did he push me away?" The same respectful voice came through the phone. "Have you forgotten, Miss Croft? You were the one who took me to get that mole. You said it was a mark you had, so I had to have one too. You also told me to find ways for the client to see it often, so he would be reminded of you." Isabel was speechless, her eyes vacant as she muttered, "That's right, how could I have forgotten?" She had been born with a small, blood-red mole on her waist. When she felt self-conscious about it, worried about what others would say, it was Ethan who smiled and said it was a mark left by an angel, the most beautiful thing in the world. But after going abroad, she had it surgically removed because another man looked at it with disgust. How ridiculous. The mark that was originally hers was now, in Ethan's mind, a feature of her stand-in. "Miss Croft, if there's nothing else, I'll hang up." Ava, a hoarse, desperate shout broke the silence. Ethan rushed out, snatched the phone, his voice choked and trembling. "Ava, tell me where you are. I'll come find you, please." A cold, emotionless voice from the phone cut him off, but it wasn't speaking to him. "Miss Croft, as you have violated the terms of the agreement, the 1-month post-service support period is hereby terminated. Thank you for your trust. Goodbye." The call ended. Ava breathed a quiet sigh of relief, a weight finally lifting from her heart. According to the agreement, both the stand-in and the employer had to ensure the arrangement remained unknown to the client's object of affection. If one party broke this rule, the other had the right to terminate the service. She removed the SIM card from her phone and threw it in the trash. Finally, she had completely left the profession of a stand-in, completely said goodbye to the past, to Ethan Lockwood, and to Isabel Croft. From now on, she would not be anyone's stand-in. She would just be herself. Staring at the disconnected call, Ethan's hands trembled as he redialed, only to be met with the cold, mechanical female voice over and over again. Chapter 17, Isabel Croft, what is going on? What is the relationship between you and Ava? Isabel's heart pounded. This was the first time Ethan had ever yelled at her. She never thought he would wake up from his drunken stupor and discover the truth about the stand-in. Her large, watery eyes filled with tears, making her look pitiful and innocent. Ethan, you misheard. That wasn't Ava's voice. I just ordered a cake. Ethan's eyes were bloodshot. He grabbed Isabel's chin, his fingertips turning white as if he were about to crush her. I'm asking you one last time. What is the deal between you and Ava? What is her relationship to you? Isabel, I suggest you answer me properly while I'm still being civil. Otherwise, I have 100 ways to make your family beg me to tell the truth. The pain in her chin made Isabel wince. Her eyes were wide with shock. Ethan was threatening her with her family's company. Was this the same man who couldn't bear to see her get even slightly hurt? The mix of resentment and anger in Isabel's heart extinguished any remaining guilt or remorse. She used all her strength to push the man away, her sharp voice filled with sobs. So what if I tell you? I'll tell you right now. Ava was just a stand-in I hired. She approached you for money. The reason she didn't take your money was because I had already paid her. She doesn't love you. Everything you saw about her these past years, her makeup, her style, even her diet, it was all fake. She was just copying me. Ava Sterling is a complete liar. Do you understand? Ethan Lockwood, the only reason you kept her around in the first place, for so long, was because her voice, everything about her, was so much like me. Can you deny that you didn't treat her as a stand-in? Finished, Isabel threw her arms around the man, looking up at his sharp jawline. Ethan, let's not talk about her anymore, okay? She's just a stand-in. How can she affect our 20 years of history? I'll never leave you again, I promise. These words were like pulling back curtains, revealing one hidden truth after another, cruelly exposing them to Ethan. He had been played by two women. A flood of memories washed over Ethan. No wonder she always forced herself to eat spicy food with a pained expression. No wonder her eyes showed no joy when he gave her a short skirt. No wonder she always wore makeup in front of him. It was all because Ava was just a stand-in, a substitute hired by Isabel. So what did these 7 years mean to Ava? Was it just a job? The comforting hugs in the dead of night, the kisses under romantic candlelight, the step she took towards him during the proposal. Was it all just part of her job? Was the love that seemed to exist between them for 7 years all a lie? A sense of powerlessness washed over Ethan. He pushed the woman away, his cold tone laced with anger. Why did you do this? The man's icy demeanor provoked Isabel again. She screamed with a tragic air, Ethan, I did it for us. I was afraid. I was afraid you would forget me. I was worried about you. I was worried you wouldn't eat or sleep properly after I left, so I thought of finding someone to take my place and look after you. Ethan, I love you. Ethan looked at the familiar, beautiful face before him and suddenly felt like he was looking at a stranger. It was as if he had never truly understood Isabel. In his mind, Isabel was beautiful, kind, innocent, and understanding. But the things she had done were utterly ridiculous. If she truly loved him, why would she have left 7 years ago without a word, without any contact? He had worked for 20 years to melt her icy heart. And now that it had finally melted, Ethan was exhausted. Kidnapping, stand-ins, theatrics, all these schemes left him feeling weary and cold to the core. Ethan had never imagined that his raw, sincere heart would be subjected to such cliché and laughable tests, over and over again. Ethan finally saw his own heart clearly. The image of Ava smiling as she took that step towards him in the flower garden floated into his mind. That step, was it genuine or not? He desperately wanted to ask her. The last glimmer of light faded from Ethan's eyes. He turned and walked away like a soulless automaton. Chapter 18, watching the man's lonely figure depart, a strange panic seized Isabel. She felt as if she were about to lose something. She rushed forward and hugged him tightly. "Don't go, Ethan, don't go." Ethan's cold fingers heartlessly pried her hands away. "Isabel, let's not see each other again. From the moment you went abroad 7 years ago, it was impossible between us." Isabel collapsed weakly to the floor, shaking her head and muttering to herself, "Impossible. It was only 7 years. You promised you'd wait for me for a lifetime." There was no one left to answer her. Ethan walked through the streets like a ghost. After an unknown amount of time, the exhaustion and drunkenness finally overwhelmed him, and he collapsed, losing consciousness. When he opened his eyes again, the smell of disinfectant filled his nostrils. The idle chatter of nurses outside drifted into his ears. "Isn't that man who fainted the doting CEO from the burn unit?" "Yeah, that's him. His girlfriend had a tiny burn the size of a fingernail, and he was so frantic, getting specialists and running tests. Ugh, the girl who came in after them was so unlucky. Such a large burn area, and she was all alone. Her treatment was delayed because of them, and now she has a scar. A scar that big will leave a psychological mark. It must have hurt so much. I know that woman, her name is Ava Sterling. She's really nice, always." The man on the bed shot up and rushed towards them, his eyes bloodshot, his voice hoarse as he asked, "What did you say happened to Ava?" The nurses were confused. Wasn't his girlfriend Miss Croft? But they told him what they knew and showed him the burn report. The words, "severe burns" on the report stabbed him in the heart again. Ethan's face turned deathly pale. He couldn't believe he hadn't noticed Ava was so badly injured. In the past, he would have noticed even the smallest cut on her. He bent over, burying his face in his hands, his body trembling as a storm of emotions raged within him. The phone rang. His assistant's voice came through. "Mr. Lockwood, we've tracked down the agency Miss Croft contacted. It's in Capital City." Ethan immediately booked a flight to Capital City. The night in Capital City was exceptionally cold. A small, inconspicuous agency in the suburbs was about to close. A large hand grabbed the door handle, and a deep voice cut through the darkness. "I'm looking for Ava Sterling." The director, Mr. Harrison, paused. He looked at the man's sharp, chiseled features and guessed his identity. He invited him into his office. "Ava has resigned. I don't know where she is." Ethan's eyes darkened. Why did she become a stand-in? Her mother was sick and urgently needed a lot of money for surgery. The client offered enough compensation, and as it happened, the client only chose her for her voice. Though unstated, Ethan knew the client was Isabel. After a long silence, the man's hoarse voice sounded particularly clear in the quiet night. "Did Ava ever love me?" Mr. Harrison poured him a cup of tea before slowly speaking. "I don't know." The man across from him shot to his feet, his dark eyes filled with anger. Just as he reached the door, Mr. Harrison's ambiguous voice came from behind. "A stand-in is not allowed to fall in love with the client. Otherwise, they face a penalty of $50 million. A month ago, Ava asked me if the penalty could be paid in installments. But a few days later, she told me her employer had returned and she had to leave." "Mr. Lockwood, I think you have your answer. Since the person you love has returned, why go to all this trouble now? I believe Ava is doing very well now. You don't need to look for her." Ethan's body jolted. A month ago, that was the day he proposed. Only now did he understand the immense determination and value behind the step Ava had taken towards him. Ava did love him. Realizing this, Ethan turned back, his eyes filled with stubbornness. "I love Ava. If you have any information about her, please tell me. I'll pay any price. I swear I won't rest until I find her." With that, his lonely figure disappeared into the night. Chapter 19, in a hospital room in France, the sound of crying could be heard, but the doctor walked out of the room with a smile. "Mom, you're finally awake." Ava tightly gripped the wrinkled hands, sobbing uncontrollably. She had waited 7 years for this day. Ever since her mother had suddenly fallen ill and slipped into a coma 7 years ago, she had lived in constant fear, terrified of losing her mother, her only family in the world. "Don't cry, my dear daughter. It breaks my heart." A tear slid down her mother's cheek from the hospital bed. She had also thought about her daughter for 7 long years. Although she had been in a coma, her consciousness was awake. She could clearly hear every word Ava said. Every time Ava cried, she felt her pain. She had struggled countless times to open her eyes, to hug her daughter, but she couldn't, able only to listen helplessly. Finally, Elena Sterling could hold her daughter tight, her trembling hands stroking her hair. "Don't cry anymore, Ava. Mom will protect you from now on." The phone rang. Ava answered, and an excited voice came through. "Ava, congratulations, your audition was a success. The director has decided you'll be the voice of the female lead." A hesitant voice followed. "But your mom, how about I go take care of her so you can focus on the voice work?" Elena spoke up, her voice warm and smiling. "That voice is that the little girl who often came to visit me. Thank you for taking care of me, dear." The assistant on the other end fell silent for a moment, then let out a joyful shriek. "Auntie, you're awake. That's wonderful, truly wonderful. Please take care of your health, and stay healthy from now on. I'll let you two catch up then." Ava helped her mother sit up and began to tell her about everything that had happened over the past 7 years, sharing even the smallest details, like a new dish at a restaurant. She didn't know that her mother had heard every word she had spoken over those 7 years. During that time, Elena had often heard a man's name from her daughter's lips and could sense her daughter's special feelings for him. But now, why had her daughter stopped mentioning him? Elena took Ava's hand and asked tentatively, "Ava, in all these years, has there been any boy you've liked?" A fleeting shadow of sadness crossed Ava's eyes, but her mother caught it. "No, I want to stay with Mom forever." Elena smiled and said no more. At the Lockwood family estate, Theodore Lockwood's angry shouts, mixed with the sound of a cane striking, echoed through the closed study. "You rebellious son, 7 years ago, you were willing to die for that Croft girl, abandoning the Lockwood Corporation and our family for her. Now that she's back, you're drinking yourself into a stupor over some other woman of no consequence. How did my Lockwood family produce such a useless wreck? If you weren't the only heir to the Lockwood Corporation, I'd beat you to death right now." Ethan supported himself on the floor with his hands, silently enduring the heavy blows. Weakened from days without proper rest, he finally couldn't take it anymore and coughed up a mouthful of blood. The caning stopped immediately. Theodore Lockwood crouched down and helped him up, anxiously calling his name, old tears streaming down his face as he coughed incessantly. "Ethan, are you trying to kill me? Your father passed away early, and I've been struggling to support the Lockwood Corporation all this time. But now, I'm afraid my body won't hold up much longer. I raised you since you were a child. If you have any filial piety left, you will protect the company, protect the life's work of our ancestors. If you don't care whether I live or die, then go on. Keep drinking. I won't interfere anymore when I'm gone. I'll apologize to your father for failing to raise you properly." Guilt showed on Ethan's pale face. His voice was incredibly hoarse. "Grandfather, I'm sorry. I won't be like this anymore." Chapter 20, a smile appeared on Theodore Lockwood's aged face as he carefully hugged the young man before him. "Didn't you like that girl from the Croft family? I've discussed it with old man Croft, and a marriage alliance would be an excellent choice. Starting tomorrow, Isabel will report to the Lockwood Corporation. She's just returned to the country, so show her the ropes and use the time to get closer and settle the marriage arrangement soon." Ethan's hand unconsciously touched the belt Ava had given him. He was about to refuse, but his grandfather had already closed his eyes in exhaustion, clearly unwilling to hear any more. He responded softly, "All right," but his tired eyes were filled with a deep-seated reluctance. When Ethan returned to the CEO's office, the files waiting for his approval were piled high on his desk. The sound of high heels was accompanied by a soft female voice. "Ethan, I look forward to working with you. I made you breakfast myself. You always used to love dumplings." Isabel held out a heart-shaped lunchbox. When opened, the aroma of meat and flour filled the office. Ethan pushed the lunchbox aside and continued to review documents, speaking coldly without looking up. "Miss Croft, during work hours, please refrain from personal matters. Also, please knock before entering my office in the future." Isabel gripped Ethan's hand tightly, her gentle voice pleading, "Ethan, we're about to be engaged. Can we please put the past behind us and be together properly? I made myself very clear last time. It was over between us 7 years ago. In the past, present, and future, we have no relationship. I can allow you to work here, but an engagement is impossible." The cold, emotionless words sent a shiver down Isabel's spine. She turned and walked to the door, then paused. Ethan, I won't give up. It can't be over between us. I don't believe you've really stopped loving me. In the days that followed, the employees of Lockwood Corporation could almost always see Isabel trailing behind their CEO. Rumors that Isabel was the future Mrs. Lockwood spread like wildfire among the staff, but they failed to notice that Ethan never once looked back at Isabel. Time flowed by like water. In 3 years, under Ethan's leadership, the Lockwood Corporation became a top-tier enterprise, and Ethan himself became a workaholic monster feared by both competitors and employees. As for Isabel, whom everyone had assumed would be the CEO's wife, she was gradually pushed out of core business operations over the years, and the gossip about their relationship died down. Employees said Ethan was born a work machine, seemingly never needing rest, his life revolving solely around work. Only his assistant knew that Ethan hadn't always been this way. Mr. Lockwood, there is still no news about Miss Sterling. The agency has no information either. The assistant had repeated this sentence countless times over the past 3 years. Ethan's reaction had gone from initial fury to a calm placidity. Keep searching. Yes, sir. This afternoon is the premiere of the movie Lockwood invested in. The producers have invited you to attend. The moment the cinema went dark, Ethan's mind flashed back to the first time he and Ava had watched a movie together. Afterwards, Ava had excitedly pulled him into a discussion, pouting and complaining about the actress's voiceover, her hands on her hips as she declared she could do a better job. A faint smile touched his lips, followed by a flicker of sadness. He hadn't responded to her at all back then. So what if the world doesn't approve? I will get justice for my mother, who says a woman's place is only at home with her embroidery and not in a courtroom delivering judgments. The powerful lines echoed through every corner of the cinema. Ethan looked up sharply. The face on the big screen wasn't the one in his memory, but the voice he could never mistake that voice. It was the same one that had appeared in his dreams for the past 3 years. Who is the voice actress for this character? The director immediately replied with enthusiasm and praise. This voice actress is a newcomer, but she's exceptionally talented and… Ethan cut him off impatiently. What's her name? Her name is Ava Sterling. Chapter 21, hearing that name from someone else's lips after 3 years, Ethan's heart could no longer remain calm. After learning the location of Ava's studio from the director, he immediately bought a plane ticket to France. On the plane, Ethan pored over Ava's file from the past 3 years, trying to fill the void of his absence from her life. It turned out Ava had been in France all this time, using a stage name for her voice work. No wonder he could never find her. Ava's voice acting studio had 20 people, all women. Thanks to their outstanding skills and distinct individual styles, her studio had gained a small but solid reputation in the industry. Countless collaboration requests came in, but many were politely declined for not being a good fit. During the 3 hours he waited in the reception area, Ethan was restless, rehearsing his greeting over and over in his mind, thinking of how to win her back. Creak! The door opened, and a woman in a sharp business suit walked in. Ethan looked up and met a pair of clear, bright eyes that sent a pang of pain through his heart. After 3 years, she was completely different. She seemed to radiate a dazzling light, confident and bright, no longer the timid woman of the past. Seeing her visitor, the upward curve of Ava's lips faltered for a second. A flash of surprise crossed her eyes, but it was quickly replaced by a polite smile. Mr. Lockwood, long time no see. I hear you have an important collaboration to discuss with me. My next recording session is in half an hour, so time is a bit tight. I hope you'll understand. The polite yet distant tone sent waves of pain through Ethan's heart. His voice was low and suppressed. Ava, do we have to be so formal with each other? When did we become so distant? Ava sat down and began to look through the documents on the table, not answering. Ethan looked down at her, unable to hold back the torrent of emotions from the past 3 years. Ava, I've been looking for you every single day for the last 3 years. Do you know how much I miss you? My life has no meaning without you. Ava, please come back with me. I can give you anything you want. Can we go back to how we were before? The room was deathly silent, broken only by the rustling of paper. Only after finishing the last page of the document did Ava look up at him, her attitude still strictly professional. I've reviewed the Lockwood Corporation's proposal. I'm sorry, but we can't collaborate. Your company's product marketing doesn't align with our studio's style. I have to get to work now. Please make yourself at home, Mr. Lockwood. Her cool demeanor was as if they were complete strangers, as if she truly saw him as just a business contact. Memories of their past flooded his mind, and Ethan felt a mix of emotions. He spoke again, his voice now tinged with anxiety and a hint of anger. Ava, don't you have anything to explain about deliberately approaching me to be a stand-in? You left without a word. That's not fair to me. Ava's face remained placid, her eyes as calm as still water as she retorted. Mr. Lockwood, my departure was your choice. Have you forgotten? You were the one who proposed, but you were also the one who said you never thought of marrying me. Was that fair to me? It was as if Ethan's carefully constructed facade had been torn away, exposing his raw, broken inner self. His voice took on a hint of panic. That's not it, Ava. I was confused then. Now I know my true feelings. Ava, I love you. The only person I want to marry is you. Please come back with me. From now on, I will never. Chapter 22, a cool voice cut him off. A mist clouded Ava's brown eyes. Mr. Lockwood, it's over between us. She didn't understand what this seemingly heartfelt confession meant. Why had Ethan's attitude towards her changed after 3 years apart? She also didn't understand why Ethan had come after her. Her departure shouldn't have mattered to him, and the long years of their past were already fading from her memory. In Ava's eyes, there was only the future, not the past. Reaching the door, Ava didn't look back, her voice distant and cold. Mr. Lockwood, you already made your choice 3 years ago. You waited for Miss Croft for so many years and finally got your wish. I'm happy for you. I wish you both happiness. Watching her retreating figure, Ethan tried to follow but was stopped by security. He slumped onto the sofa, a sense of powerlessness, unease, and despair washing over him. After 3 years apart, why had Ava changed so drastically? In the past, she had always spoken to him timidly and shyly. Now, her face held only a cool, professional smile. It was as if they had never known each other. He refused to believe Ava had truly moved on. They had spent 7 years together, day and night. How could she forget so easily? Even if he had made the wrong choice 3 years ago, couldn't he be given another chance? He wouldn't make the same mistake again. He had seen his heart clearly now. From now on, he would run to Ava without hesitation. Finally finished, Ava, you were amazing. Those last few lines gave me goosebumps. The assistant's words died in her throat when she saw Ethan. She gave Ava a meaningful look and quickly left. Ethan held out a beautiful strawberry cake, his tired face full of tenderness. You've worked hard, Ava. You must be hungry after all that. I bought you your favorite strawberry cake. Later, shall we go for that big seafood feast you love? Ava's brow furrowed slightly. She hadn't expected Ethan to still be here. Mr. Lockwood, strawberries and seafood are what Isabel likes. You've brought them to the wrong person. I believe I made myself clear earlier. Since we won't be collaborating, there's no need for you to seek me out again. With that, Ava brushed past him. A faint scent of jasmine drifted into Ethan's nostrils. It was fresh and pleasant, but utterly unfamiliar, unlike the rich, bold scent of gardenias from before. The strawberry cake fell from his hands. Ethan's eyes were clouded with confusion. He suddenly realized he didn't know Ava at all. The person he had known before seemed to be just another version of Isabel, an Ava wearing a mask. He felt like he was lost in a desert with no sense of direction. But so what? He had already decided who he loved. No matter what she was like before or what she was like now, Ava was Ava. He was willing to get to know her all over again, to fall deeply in love with the real her. Having made up his mind, Ethan chased after the retreating figure. Ethan followed Ava from a distance, watching her enter a private hospital room. Through the glass pane on the door, he saw a smiling woman on the bed. She bore a striking resemblance to Ava. Eleanor Sterling took the bowl of soup from Julian Vance's hands and said with a smile, "Julian, you come here every day. I feel a bit bad for troubling you so much. You're a good kid, you don't have to run over here all the time. The nurse can take good care of me." Chapter 23, Julian Vance noticed Ava's chapped lips and poured her a glass of water, though his words were teasing. "It's no trouble, Eleanor. I'm just a loafer. Not like our busy Miss Ava here. Our famous voice actress's schedule is packed. She doesn't even have time to have a meal with me." Ava drank the water, put down the glass, and playfully slapped his back. "Stop with the sarcasm. Just because I owe you one hot pot meal, you have to complain to my mom. How old are you? Are you a child? Watching them bicker, a gratified smile bloomed on Alina's face, her kind eyes filled with peace. She knew Julian's feelings. She had seen all his efforts. Nominally, he was the investor and boss of Ava's studio, but in reality, they were the closest of friends. No matter where they were, his eyes were always only on Ava. Over the past 3 years, Ava's voice acting career hadn't been smooth sailing, but Julian had quietly cleared all the obstacles for her, even using his hidden family connections and drinking himself to the point of stomach bleeding for her sake. Yet in front of Ava, he always maintained a cheerful and optimistic demeanor. He had always been by Ava's side, protecting her, helping her rebuild her confidence, and Ava's smiles had become more and more frequent. Julian was even more devoted to Alina. He personally arranged all of her meals and visited more often than Ava herself. Although Julian never said a word about these things, Alina was well aware of them all. But she knew her daughter best. She knew it would take time and a great deal of courage for Ava to fall in love again. Alina couldn't help but sigh, taking Julian's hand with a look of compassion. "You've been through a lot. Why don't you two go for that hot pot tonight? Ava, please thank Julian properly for me." "Don't be so formal. Alina, I'll go get your medicine." Hearing Ava's agreement, Julian's happiness was written all over his face. He hummed a little tune as he left the room. Outside the room, Ethan sat flustered on a chair, afraid of being discovered. Yet he couldn't help but steal a glance at the man walking past. The man's profile seemed vaguely familiar, and a flicker of jealousy crossed his dark eyes. This was the first time he had seen Ava smile at another man so beautifully. Once Alina was alone in the room, Ethan knocked and entered with a bouquet of lilies. "Hello, Mrs. Sterling. I'm a friend of Ava's, Ethan Lockwood." A hint of surprise flashed in Alina's eyes. "I know who you are." Ethan's dark eyes widened slightly, a mix of surprise and unease. Alina's attitude was crucial to him now. "You know me?" Alina took the flowers, gestured for him to sit, and studied him for a moment before speaking warmly. "I was in a coma for 7 years. During that time, Ava would often connect to a video feed in my room and talk to me, and I heard your name many times. I used to wonder if my daughter was in love, if she had fallen for this boy named Ethan Lockwood. Later, I realized she had indeed fallen for you, because her tone when she mentioned you became increasingly shy and happy. Until one night, 3 years ago, she told me through tears that she didn't want to be a stand-in anymore. That was the last time I ever heard her mention your name." Ethan's heart clenched, a sense of panic and fear creeping in. What did she say?" The smile on Alina's face faded slightly, but her tone remained gentle. "She said, 'Goodbye, Ethan Lockwood. I hope we never meet again in this life.'" Ava has always been an emotional child. That was the first time I had ever heard her speak with such finality. "I don't know what happened between you two, but I sincerely hope that you will stop looking for her, please." It took Ava 3 years to finally start moving past the shadows of her past. "If you truly love her, let her go, my child. It's impossible between you two now. I know Ava, she won't go back. Besides, she has someone now who truly loves her." Each word was like a sharp blade, mercilessly plunging into Ethan's heart, the pain making it hard for him to breathe. Ethan's eyes gradually turned red, his low voice filled with intense unwillingness. "But, Mrs. Sterling, I can't accept it. There hasn't been a single day in these 3 years that I haven't missed Ava. Why can't she give me another chance?" A trace of coolness entered Alina's gentle tone. "Have you seen the scar on Ava's arm? Even if you were given 1, 2, or 1,000 chances, those horrifying scars on her arm will never fade. Once the damage is done, it can't be erased. Do you understand?" An endless silence fell over the room. Ethan's throat felt as if it were sealed with wax. He couldn't utter another word. Only the frantic beating of his heart could be heard. Chapter 24, Isabel followed the location provided by a private investigator to the hospital, but couldn't find Ethan. Just as she was about to enter the main building to search, a familiar silhouette caught her eye. All her questions were instantly answered. The flames of jealousy raged in Isabel's heart. She stormed over to the riverbank and confronted her. "Ava Sterling, I knew it was you." She looked Ava up and down with a disdainful gaze. 3 years, and you've lost that pathetic look. But do you think that gives you the right to seduce Ethan Lockwood? Let me tell you, Ava, you will always be an insignificant stand-in. Only I can be by Ethan's side in his heart. You are nothing but my shadow. If you know what's good for you, stay away from him, Ava smiled. After 3 years, Isabel was still as confident and arrogant as ever. But those who are loved are meant to be that way. It is the unloved who are timid and insecure. It's been a long time, Miss Croft. You're overthinking things. Mr. Lockwood and I have had no contact for years. I wish you both happiness. This polite explanation only fueled Isabel's fury. She questioned angrily, her voice full of 3 years of pent-up resentment. So you've learned to be pretentious now, Ava? Oh, that's right, I forgot. You were always a good actress when you were my stand-in. If you two really have no contact, then why did Ethan suddenly come to this hospital? And why has he been searching for you for the past 3 years? Why does he call out your name when he's drunk? If you hadn't seduced him during those 7 years, why would Ethan be so obsessed with you now? Ava didn't want to get entangled with her any further. She turned to leave, speaking coolly. For those 7 years, everything I did was according to your instructions, Miss Croft. In her peripheral vision, Isabel saw Ethan striding quickly towards them. An idea sparked in her mind. Since she couldn't be sure of Ethan's true feelings, she would use the same method she had 3 years ago. Only this time, it wasn't a test. Isabel was certain Ethan would choose her. He loved her. But she would use this method to make Ethan see his own heart clearly. He didn't really love Ava, he was just used to her presence. That wasn't love. Splash, the calm surface of the lake erupted as 2 figures fell into the water. On the bank, 2 tall figures broke into a run. Ava, Ethan jumped into the river without hesitation, swimming towards Ava and calling her name anxiously. Just as he was about to reach the struggling Ava, a pair of strong arms wrapped around her and pulled her towards the shore. Ethan's hand grasped at empty water. He unwillingly followed them back to the bank. Help! Ethan! Ethan! Save me! Isabel's desperate cries came from the water, as if she were about to be swallowed by the lake at any moment. But Ethan seemed not to hear. He hovered around Ava. Ava, Julian pressed on her chest, performing emergency resuscitation, only to be shoved aside by Ethan. Julian, what are you doing? You're taking advantage of the situation? Thump! You idiot, I'm trying to save her. Julian, at the end of his patience, punched Ethan in the face and continued his rescue efforts. Ava's pale face came into Ethan's view. He remembered that Ava knew how to swim. Why would she be drowning in a shallow lake? Cough, cough, cough. Ava coughed a few times, but her face remained extremely pale, her eyes tightly shut as if she were having a nightmare. No, don't push me. The cliff. No. Her mumbled words reached Ethan's ears clearly. It was because of the staged kidnapping on the cliff. It had given her a deep-seated fear of water. Ethan's heart twisted in pain again, leaving him with no strength to get any closer to Ava. Seeing Ava respond, Julian swept her up into his arms and carried her towards the clinic. Chapter 25. Cough, cough. Isabel, rescued by security, was completely exhausted and collapsed weakly on the ground. More than the dizziness from nearly drowning, it was the sharp pain in her heart that brought her to her senses. Why had Ethan's choice changed after 3 years? Isabel propped herself up, her eyes red with unshed tears, and spoke with resentment. Ethan, why didn't you save me first? I was pushed into the water by Ava. I'm the victim. How could you only care about whether she lived or died? Ethan stood up without looking at her. For 3 years, he had pushed Isabel away time and time again, but she had relentlessly pursued him. Thinking about how Isabel had followed him to the hospital and hurt Ava, his voice turned icy, full of warning. If you dare to hurt Ava again, I will not be lenient with you. Isabel's eyes widened in disbelief. She couldn't understand why Ethan didn't see her. She had also fallen into the water. She was also a victim. She used all her strength to rush forward and hug the man tightly, sobbing. Ethan, I don't believe it. How could you not love me anymore? You said you would only love me for your whole life. Have you forgot? Ethan, Isabel, what are you two doing? Ethan, if you dare hurt Isabel, I'll deal with you. A sudden male voice interrupted Isabel's crying. Leo Franklin took off his coat and draped it over Isabel's shoulders, carefully helping her up. Isabel froze, staring at the man in front of her in disbelief. Leo, what are you doing here? Didn't you just get married? Where is she? The wedding was called off long ago. The Franklin family and myself are no longer worthy of her. The man's low, dejected voice made Isabel's heart tremble. The man she had pursued for so many years was holding her gently, and for a moment, she was lost. She had been defeated and left in disgrace, never reconciling with her fate. Now, Ethan was cold and distant, impossible to warm up. She turned and hugged Leo, her voice exceptionally gentle. "Leo, I believe in you. Don't worry, I'll always be by your side to support you. Isabel, thank you, you're still the one who's good to me." The scene of the two of them embracing lovingly played out right in front of Ethan. His mind suddenly connected a series of events. So, the person Isabel had been in love with all along was his middle school deskmate, Leo Franklin. All the things Ethan couldn't understand in the dead of night suddenly had a reasonable explanation. Looking back, wherever Leo appeared, Isabel was sure to be there. And he had been completely oblivious, foolishly enjoying every conversation with Isabel, his heart pounding with joy every time. It turned out that Isabel had returned to the country because Leo got engaged, leaving her with no other choice but to remember the backup who had always been chasing after her. A self-deprecating smile touched Ethan's lips. From beginning to end, he had just been an optional substitute, and for someone like that, he had hurt the person he truly loved. How pathetic. "Leo Franklin, Isabel Croft, I wish you both happiness." Ethan walked past them, leaving only a lonely silhouette behind. For a fleeting moment, Isabel felt the urge to chase after him. She shook her head, dismissing the impulse, and hugged the man in front of her tighter. The man she loved had always been Leo. Now, with Leo in a difficult situation, this was her chance. She would cherish it. In the hospital room, Ava's intermittent, mumbled words echoed as she was trapped in a nightmare, her forehead beaded with sweat. Julian wiped her brow, his heart aching. He held her hand tightly, his low voice filled with pain. "Ava, please wake up. I miss you so much. Julian Vance will only ever have one choice, and that's Ava Sterling. Please wake up, okay? I'm not in your nightmare, am I? From now on, I'll be here. You'll never have nightmares again." The gentle, firm male voice filled the room all night. The breathing of the person on the bed gradually became steady. The morning sun streamed through the curtains, falling on the bed. Julian, who had been dozing by her side, opened his eyes and met the clear gaze of Ava, who was tilting her head and studying him. Julian was instantly awake. He hugged Ava tightly, stammering with excitement, "Ava, you're finally awake." Ava rested her head on the man's shoulder, a smile on her lips, and gently placed her hand on his back. This small gesture went unnoticed by the man, who was lost in his joy. The scene, viewed through the glass of the hospital room door, was witnessed by Ethan. Ethan had kept vigil outside the room all night. His eyes were dark with exhaustion, his face a mask of complex emotions. His tightly clenched fists gradually relaxed. It seemed he no longer had the right to be angry. This time, when faced with a choice, he had chosen Ava without hesitation. But she no longer needed him. Chapter 26, the hospital room door opened, and Julian Vance walked out, sitting down beside him. "So the shadow in her heart is you, Ethan Lockwood. The first time I saw her was in a recording studio. She had tried a line over 100 times without success. The director said her voice always lacked a certain confidence. She was voicing a beloved female lead, not an unloved stand-in. Later, I finally convinced her to see a therapist. The doctor said the emotional trauma she suffered had caused a severe psychological block. If she couldn't overcome it, she might fall into depression." Julian's face grew darker, the anger in his voice barely suppressed. "Ethan Lockwood, the entire city knows you're a hopelessly devoted romantic who's been in love with his white moonlight for over 20 years. Since you've already gotten what you wanted, why are you still harassing Ava? Let her go. The pain you've caused her is enough to last a lifetime. Isn't that enough? Are you trying to drive her to her death?" The Lockwood and Vance families were rivals in business, so Ethan and Julian had been rivals since childhood. They had competed from elementary school through college. Julian had personally witnessed how much Ethan loved Isabel Croft. He couldn't understand why Ethan was now clinging to Ava. Ethan looked down, his face unreadable, his heart a barren wasteland. "Ava wants to see you." Ava poured a cup of tea and handed it to him. As Ethan took it, his gaze fell on her fair arm. A patch of red, horrifying scars was starkly visible. A sharp pain shot through his heart and his lips turned pale. "Ava, I'm sorry, does it hurt?" Ethan almost dropped the cup, his low voice trembling. Hearing the belated concern and apology, Ava's heart was calm, without a ripple. She pulled down her sleeve and said softly, "It doesn't hurt. It's all in the past." Seeing the vacant look in the man's hazy eyes, Ava repeated, her voice crisp and powerful like a drum beat, "Ethan, it's all in the past. Everything came to an end on that cliff that night. The ending cannot be changed. No matter what you do, you can't change our past or our future. If fate allows, I hope we can be not strangers but business partners. Is that possible?" The room was filled with only the sound of birds chirping and cicadas humming. Ethan looked at the Ava before him. She was so close, yet an insurmountable chasm now lay between them, a chasm filled with wounds and cracks. No matter what he did, there was no possibility of repair. After a long while, his gaze shifted from the girl's profile to the tender green shoots outside the window. "I understand, Ava. I wish you happiness." "You too." As soon as he finished speaking, Julian rushed into the room with a thermal container, unceremoniously ushering the man still standing by the window out. He couldn't wait another moment. The man who had once hurt Ava, every second he stood by her side was torture for Julian. The therapist had repeatedly warned him not to let Ava get agitated again, and he was terrified of failing to protect her. Julian looked up, smiled, and opened the container. "Ava, time to eat. I made your favorite sweet and sour pork ribs." Ava keenly noticed the flicker of disappointment in the man's eyes and winked at him. "What's wrong, Mr. Vance? Why the long face?" The man lowered his head, his eyes full of sadness. "Why did I meet you so late, if only I could have? Julian, the fact that we met at all is a wonderful thing. It's not too late. It's just right." A faint smile graced Ava's face. The warm sunlight illuminated her features and a gentle breeze stirred her hair. Everything seemed just right. Outside the room, the gloom in Ethan's eyes gradually dissipated, replaced by a bitter smile. He used to be the only one by her side. But times had changed. He no longer had her. Ethan left a bouquet of tulips at the door of the hospital room, then turned and left for the airport. Chapter 27, returning to the Lockwood Villa, Ethan had the gardener replant the entire yard with tulips. His room was restored to its former state, the walls of the living room and bedroom once again covered with their old photos. But the figure from the past would never be seen again. The design philosophy of the Lockwood Corporation underwent a major shift. The traditional marketing methods were abandoned in favor of promotional films with deeper meaning, highlighting female empowerment. A new jewelry line, Wildflower, was launched and became immensely popular. It symbolized that women, regardless of their circumstances, have the right to be themselves and can blossom with a unique beauty. Mr. Lockwood, Ava Sterling has agreed to do the voiceover for the new product's promotional film. Ethan looked out at the clear, boundless sky, and some of the clouds in his heart began to part. Since he could no longer stand by her side, he would protect her in another way. He would protect her confidence, her wishes, and her dreams, hoping only that she would have a happy and smooth life. Capital City Airport was already swarmed with fans who had been waiting for hours. "Miss Sterling, when is the sequel to the story of Ah Xiang coming out? Ava, your voice is so beautiful. Can I have your autograph?" Julian was taken aback by the crowd and moved closer to Ava. When he saw a male fan's hand about to touch her, he couldn't hold back any longer. He wrapped his arm tightly around Ava, protecting her. But his ears turned red unconsciously, and his voice held a strange emotion. "There are too many fans. I was afraid you'd get hurt. This is safer." Ava burst out laughing, her voice light and teasing. "Oh, Mr. Vance, why are your ears so red? Are you sick? Should we take you to the hospital?" Julian's face darkened, but his ears only grew redder. When they arrived at the villa in the suburbs, Eleanor had already prepared a meal for them. "You're finally back. It's so much more comfortable in our own country. This is our home." Looking at the table full of delicious, fragrant dishes, Ava's eyes widened in surprise, and she chided, "Mom, you've just recovered. The doctor said you shouldn't overexert yourself. How did you cook so much on your own?" "Oh, after a few years of rest, you really think your mom is a delicate flower. Have you forgotten I used to be able to manage an entire field by myself? A few dishes are nothing." Seeing the slightly annoyed look on her daughter's face, Eleanor quickly shot a look at the man standing beside her. Julian took Ava's bag, sat her down, and said warmly, "All right, Mom is very healthy now. Just let her cook, she's been bored. Hurry up and try her cooking. Elena took the opportunity to put some food on her plate. Eating the familiar, delicious food, a warm feeling spread through Ava's heart and her eyes misted over. Her family's health was the greatest happiness for her. Suddenly remembering something, Ava feigned anger and kicked the person next to her. "What did you just call my mom?" "Don't use that name." Julian placed a peeled shrimp in her bowl, completely unfazed by her threat, and said confidently, "It's only a matter of time." "Right, Mom." Elena was also amused. Seeing her daughter about to playfully hit him, she quickly intervened with a smile. The television was replaying the Golden Voice Awards ceremony. The best voice actress for the 20th Golden Voice Awards is Ava Sterling. Ava accepted the trophy and flowers, her eyes reflecting the countless light sticks in the audience, illuminating her face. "Thank you to my fans and to all the family and friends who have supported me along the way. I want to say to all the girls out there, be confident. You are a unique flower in this world, and your beauty cannot be replaced by anyone." A large chicken leg was placed in Ava's bowl. "Here, this is my reward for the amazing Miss Sterling." Ava's eyes were full of laughter. She picked up another chicken leg and placed it in Julian's bowl. "Thank you for your support, Mr. Vance." Chapter 28. 5 years later, the Vance family held a full moon celebration for their eldest grandson at the Imperial Grand Hotel. "Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Vance. Mr. and Mrs. Vance's relationship is as good as ever. It's truly enviable. Little Mr. Vance looks just like his mother." Julian took the baby from Ava's arms, his eyes full of love as he looked at her. "This little guy is heavy. Don't tire yourself out. Go inside and rest." "I've got this." Ava smiled and stood on her toes to give the man a kiss on the cheek. "I'm not that fragile. You're spoiling me so much I'm becoming delicate." This scene of marital bliss was witnessed by Ethan Lockwood from a distance. A faint smile touched his lips. "Godfather, isn't that the lady from the photo? Is she the reason you never married?" The boy looked up, his clear eyes full of curiosity. "Don't ask questions you're not supposed to ask. Double homework for you today." The boy quickly pleaded for forgiveness, promising never to bring it up again. He was genuinely grateful to Ethan. If it weren't for him, he would still be bullied in a corner of an orphanage. In the boy's eyes, Ethan was an all-powerful figure, the most capable person in the world. Although strict, he was genuinely good to him. But he was really curious about what kind of woman could completely occupy his godfather's heart, making him think about her for over a decade, leaving no room for anyone else. The scent of cotton candy attracted the little boy. "Auntie, I want one cotton candy." "Auntie?" Isabel Croft wiped away her tears and turned around. After confirming it was just the boy, she looked up and answered. She poured a lot of sugar and made a very large cotton candy. As she handed it over, she hesitated and asked, "Was that your father just now?" The boy took the cotton candy and grinned happily. "Yes, he's my dad, but Auntie, my dad already has someone he loves." Isabel froze for a moment. She picked up a nearby strawberry tanghulu and handed it to him, forcing a gentle smile. "We're having a promotion today. This is for your father. He loves this flavor the most." Watching the boy skip away, Isabel's heart felt like it was being torn apart. Countless memories flooded her mind, and the regret was almost suffocating. If she could do it all over again, she wished she had seen Ethan that day, not her deskmate Leo. Isabel had chased after Leo for 20 years, even hurting Ethan repeatedly for his sake. But every time she thought her wish was about to come true, it would slip through her fingers. That day at the lake, she had chosen Leo again. But just as they were about to get married, news came that Leo had forged contracts, bankrupting her family's company, and then disappeared. Overnight, Isabel went from a wealthy heiress to someone burdened with heavy debt. Her parents fell ill from the shock, and to pay for their medical bills, Isabel had to work 8 jobs a day. The cold wind whipped against her thin clothes. Isabel shivered. Looking at the happy family in the hotel not far away, a bitter smile touched her lips. Perhaps this was her retribution. Inside the hotel, Ava rested her chin on her hands, watching the snow suddenly start to fall outside. She said, out of the blue, "Honey, I want cotton candy." Julian, who had just coaxed their child to sleep, reached out and stroked her head. "Okay."